with everything that you do, every decision making, there's going to be a good and a bad.
Right.
So you are determining if you're whether to go ahead and take ownership of the bad for the risk of the good.
Yeah.
How did I go from doing all this great work, being a golden boy in my department, to now being in the back of a cop car in my cop uniform? I was like, bro, this is like the worst day of my life.
Welcome back to the IA Guy Police Podcast here with your host, Marlon Marrache. Okay, look, I always say this, right? All guests are special, but this one's like, I don't know, maybe a little more special for several reasons. One, he's half Peruvian. We're going to get to know if he's truly from, mis peruchos, mucho gusto out there. But I got to ask you right off the bat, let's see, so corporate sales and promoting at a nightclub, promo at a club, man. What was that all about before you actually you got into law enforcement? Talk to me.
Yeah, Marlon. So for you guys who don't know me, my name is Paul Alex Espinosa. I'm originally from the Bay Area, San Francisco native, half Peruvian, half Mexican, born from an immigrant family. Yes, I speak Spanish. A lot of people are like, man, are you like Filipino? I was like, nah, bro. We're just like very like diverse in the Bay. Come on, what's up? So, so 18 to 24, I was a nightclub promoter.
Okay.
Very, very, I guess, ambitious kid since the age of 15 and a half. All I knew was to work hard, being Latino, coming from an immigrant family. Right. The thing is, my parents showed me how to work hard, but not work efficient. So as I grew up, man, I was just doing side jobs, worked at maybe Macy's Women's Shoes, worked at Foster Freeze, worked all these little side gigs. And then finally, I remember at the age of 18, I went to an 18 over club in San Francisco. And I saw this kid my age, and he was like the owner of the nightclub, not the actual building, but the party. And they had probably like 1,000 nightclub goers there. And I approached him. I was like, hey, dude, like, how did you do this? And he was just like, dude, I just network. And I went ahead and I promoted an event. I talked to the owner. We set it up behind the scenes. He gets like the bar. He gets to sell waters and sodas because it's the 18 over crowd. And then everyone who's 21 and over, they get the bar, the alcohol, and all that jazz.
Right.
And then he's like, I get the door. And I was just like, bro, you're charging $20 to $100. How much are you making tonight? He's like, bro, I made like $30,000. And I was just like, there's no way, dude. There's no way you're 18 years old and you're making that much money, bro. I was like, I gotta get in. So my way in was just like, let me be like a little photographer. Bro, I bought like a cheap little camera. And this is a story that a lot of people don't know. I bought a cheap little camera and I was like, bro, I will take pictures and I will send it to you so you could post it online. Back then it was MySpace. Okay, I know I'm aging myself, but MySpace, right?
Of course.
So he was like, okay, you're our camera guy. So that was my in into the nightclub industry.
Okay.
A year later, I started saving up enough money through my first event in actually Oakland, California, right? It held 1,000 people at this venue, bro. I only had 500 people show up. 500, which is still a lot, right?
Bro, that's a lot.
It's a lot of people, bro. But at the end of the day, with me, I've always been like, I'm going all in. I'm going all in. So I hired like the best artists at the time, the rap artists, hip hop artists, and all that jazz. And it was a letdown, bro, because I just broke even. And then I had promised my parents because I took a little loan from them. I was just like, hey, I'm gonna get you like this much percentage back on your money. And with me, I've always been a man of my word. So it didn't happen, dude. I was in the slumps. But then I just continued. I continued to do it. I did it for about 4 to 5 years. I didn't have any mentors at that time telling me what to do with my money. I was doing pretty good, dude. I bought the luxury cars. Back then, a luxury car for me was like a Lexus GS 430. Balling, dude. Like you're just, dude. You're 18. You're young. You're like, yeah, I got the world in my hands, right? I can do anything. But I didn't know where to invest that money, where to diversify it. So all I was doing, I was a frequent flyer to Vegas, bro. Yeah. I was over there when they were throwing the first pool parties and all that jazz. So I was having fun, dude. I lived, right?
Yes.
So then at the age of 21, I finally transitioned because my mom's like, when are you gonna get a real job, right? She didn't think the nightclub industry was a real job. She didn't think entrepreneurship was a real job. So she was like, come on, póngate las pilas, like go to school.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to school. I went to community college, got the associate's degree, but I was like, school's not for me. I've never been a studious guy. So I ended up working for this big corporation called Ecolab, and they sell cleaning solutions. So I was basically like a glorified dish machine repairman with inside sales. And that was my entryway. That was like the first entry job that I ever had to actually go ahead and learn how to gain soft skills.
Okay.
You know, learn how to talk to people, dude.
Right.
So then after doing that for about 6 years, I went up the ranks, did quite well, man. I was like a 1%er, was always top on sales every year. Going back, I finally made it to district manager, had my own team in Marin County, which is part of the Bay Area over there in Northern California. And then around 20, I'm gonna say at the age of 24, 25, I was just like, you know what? I was dating my ex of 7 years. Her cousin was a sergeant of police for San Francisco PD.
Okay.
Yeah, so then he was a sergeant. He was balling out of control. Back then, man, balling out of control to me was like making $200K, you know, which is still good money nowadays. But back then, I'm like, damn, how are you making so much money? And he's just like, bro, I'm working overtime. And I was just like, dude, like, I know I work on commission, but if I was able to work overtime, dude, I could save up and start investing in real estate and all that jazz. And I was able to buy my first condo and everything. And I was, to me, I had the world in my hands, man. I was just like, I'm already successful. I make 6 figures at this company. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
And I switched. But what I told myself, man, when I was going out there to actually find a department, right? Because I think a lot of people that want to aspire to be the police, they go ahead and they ask themselves, like, where should I work at?
Right.
Right? Most people, they go for their hometown.
Yeah.
Right? For me, I was just like, if I'm gonna be a cop, bro, I want to be a cop.
Got it.
So I decided Oakland, California. You know, at
Okay.
that time, it was the #1 murder rate, you know, in the country.
Yeah.
It was crazy. You would see all the documentaries about it. You know, what was that? Was it Drugs Inc. on Netflix?
Yeah.
It was primarily all of Oakland.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, if I'm gonna be a cop, I'm gonna be a badass cop.
If I may interject, you think, well, of course, you know, I'm from, I call it Visalia. It's Visalia.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that considered to be, I'm sorry, Vallejo.
Oh, Vallejo.
Vallejo.
Yeah.
See, we call it Vallejo.
Yeah.
Vallejo's considered one of the, I want to say, one of the most violent cities in the state of California. Compare that to Oakland. What do you think?
So Vallejo at the time, it wasn't ranked #1. It would always be, you know, the media likes to go ahead and promote violence, scarcity. They like to go ahead and promote negativity. That's how they get the ratings.
Sensationalize. Absolutely.
That's it, man. You know, it's just like negative, positive attention. That's what they're gonna go ahead and broadcast. So when I went ahead and told my parents, they were like, "Are you crazy? What's wrong with you?" So at that time, Vallejo was up there, but it wasn't.
It's not Oakland.
It wasn't
no.
Oakland. Oakland was the
I
top
got you.
tier.
OPD.
OPD, man.
OPD was in the house.
where
Okay.
it's where it's at, man. If you
Got
can
it.
make it there, you can make it anywhere, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
So at the end of the day, man.
77, Southeast, Southwest,
yeah.
LA, you know.
Hey, and there's no hate to my Southern California crew.
But it's only the South, though, just so you know.
Yeah, because like I wasn't born and raised in Southern California, so I don't know like the counties like that, but I know LA.
You guys are, look, bro, Oak is buck wild.
Yeah, no, it's wild.
I mean, for the record, you know, I'm sure that all my LAPD audience is going to say, yeah, Oak is in the house, so I appreciate that.
And further in the story, you guys are going to learn I actually worked quite a bit with LAPD, but I worked with LA Impact, which is their narcotics division.
Okay.
So we always exchange information. I had like 38 informants at the time. This is going to the further into the story. But with that being said, yeah, I chose Oakland. Took me 3 years, bro. Took me 3 years to get in. Why? Because at the age of 21, I had gone out to a bar. And I got into an argument with the bouncer. Well, as I'm walking out the bar, right? I'm 21, dude. I'm a highhead. It is what it is. I'm walking out the bar. There's a couple cops standing right there. The bouncer's like, "Hey, get that guy. He just cussed me out." As soon as I hit the pavement, dude, like my foot stepped outside the stoop, they, boop, 3 of them hopped on me. Or you're going to jail for public intoxication. I was like, what? I was like, this is crazy. For what?
647F, bro.
647F, man. And it was just, you know, they were younger cops at the time. Now that I reflect at my time at 21, yeah, I was mouthy. But at the end of the day, if I would have done that, if I was the cop standing aside, no. I would have been like, hey, bro, just go to your car.
Yeah.
Who's driving you home? That's just what it is. That's the type of guy I am.
So that held you for a while.
Oh, dude.
Background.
Yes. Because we're talking about 2011, 2012, 2013. You got to think about it like this. Here's the atmosphere. Let me paint the picture here. Around that time, when I would go to physical agility tests, it would be 1,500 to 2,000 applicants compared to now. Okay. Yeah. Now, how many applicants are applying? Do like 20, 30?
Yeah.
And it's like the bottom of the tier. Like people don't even want to police anymore.
Correct.
Right. And it's not the department's fault. it's society's fault. It is the media's fault, right? Because they're painting this picture that, you know, number one, cops don't make that much money. Number two, who would want to go ahead and be a cop nowadays? Number three, and we could get into it later, but number three, you know, the cops are the worst human beings ever. But little do they know that if you do it smart and you actually get into this profession, it can actually be, number one, very rewarding. It can build you up to be a CEO, as you guys will learn in my story. Number three, you can make a ton of money. This is the first job I ever made $250,000. I used to work with guys, mind you, they were never at home. They were making $500,000.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you can really make a lot of money in this profession if you're smart about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, man, that was during that time. So I knew I didn't have a chance, but I still went for it because I wanted the experience of at least going through the process.
Right.
So first time I did the English exam, at that time it was post-certified. I didn't pass it. It is what it is. I didn't pass it. So what did I do? I leveled up. I self-educated myself. I actually went to a workshop. I invested like $250 for someone who was teaching you how to pass the written exam. And little by little, like it didn't hit me back then what I was doing. What I was doing is I would go ahead and experience failure, reanalyze it, and then try to get a shortcut to the success. So the shortcut to the success was me investing into a mentor to go ahead and actually teach me how to go ahead and pass that phase of the test. And when I think about it now as an entrepreneur, how I've been able to build, as you guys will learn later on in this pod, is I've been able to build like 2 8-figure companies, a 7-figure company. I'm doing another startup in the fitness industry later on this year. But the reason why I'm able to do that is because I'm not scared to invest in my self-education. And that's the biggest thing. It's just like, I think most people, they think they're throwing away money by going ahead and paying for information from someone who they don't know, right? But one thing that I always tell everybody, especially aspiring cops that are going into the profession, is what you don't know is what you don't know. So how you expect to be the best if you don't know what you're doing, right? It's the same thing, FTO, going ahead and being a detective, an IA sergeant, right? You have to learn the game because life is a game. So I did that, man, and then I went physical agility, went through the oral board. Oral board, failed it the second time, didn't pass it, and what held me up, guys, don't let the actions.
Come on, you're all in shape now, bro. Were you not back in shape back then, or?
No. I passed the physical agility.
Okay.
It was the oral board, so the interview, the interview process.
The interview.
Yeah, and you know how it goes, because
But you can spit, bro.
I mean, now I can.
Now you can.
Now I can. I was very introverted back then, bro.
Got it.
Like, even though I was doing corporate sales, like I knew how to turn on my business, like mindset and like how to act the part. But when it came to talking to cops, especially because at the end of the day, dude, I didn't know I was going to be, I didn't know I was going to try to transition into law enforcement at the time. And then let's be honest, most people, especially when they're young, they either fear the police or they're intimidated by the police.
Correct.
Let's be honest, man.
Correct.
So when it comes down to it, those oral boards, whenever somebody's going ahead and they're interviewing for the very first time, you know, they're wearing their blues, they're high and tight, and they're just like, no, sir, yes, sir. Like, you know, and just imagine if you're not militant. I don't come from a military background. I come from like immigrant family, dude. I worked my butt off like my entire life, and I'm trying to go ahead and get into a profession, which is what I like to call a good old boys club. Meaning that usually you're doing law enforcement because you're either military, and that's basically all you know, or number two, your family did it, or you have a close friend that did it. So they're like, hey, you basically were like groomed or nurtured to take that path. With me, when you really look at the transition that I did, because I talked to so many other mentors of mine, and they're like, dude, we love your story because you got to really think of the path that you took. You were in corporate sales. One day you woke up and you're like, dude, I don't want to do sales anymore. And you just took action and started applying to police departments. Yeah. And on top of that, you were applying for one of the most dangerous police departments in America. Like, what made you do that? And I was just like, to be honest, I just wanted to change. That's it. I wanted to change. And I was just like, yeah, the money was appealing. And I was just like, cool, I'll be able to go ahead and scale to a certain financial point of sense. But I just want to prove that I could do it. Because my parents doubted me. At that time, my girl doubted me. Everybody doubted me. You can't be a cop. You can't be a cop. There's no way. You have a record. And even though it wasn't even a misdemeanor or anything, it was actually like a slap in the wrist, right? Yeah. You stay overnight or whatever. I was 21, I was young and dumb. So when that happened, man, it was just like I had to prove a point. I had to prove a point. I took all that anger and I was just like, dude, I'm gonna go ahead and prove him wrong. So then I had the same BG. I had the same background investigator. I believe his name, I can't recall his name.
Come on,
man.
let's give him a shout out, man.
Yeah, I can't. I know his last name is Foley.
Okay.
It's been a minute. I'm getting old, guys. I'm
Yeah.
37.
Sergeant Foley?
No, he wasn't a sergeant.
Detective?
He was officer.
Officer Foley?
Yeah, Officer
Shout
Foley.
out to Officer Foley.
Yeah, Officer Foley. But he helped me out a lot because, he was, some of those officers that have like I know the kids call it Riz now.
Yeah,
But like back,
the
I still call it swag.
Yeah.
You know?
We call it, I know.
Yeah, they got that style to them. He's
Yeah.
like, look, Espinoza. He's just like, dude, look, you up against guys that are like Navy SEALs. You're up against Marines. You're up against the best of the best. They got college degrees. You ain't got shit.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you got 6 years of experience in corporate America, but bro, they didn't get popped at the bar.
Yeah.
I mean, let's keep it real. And I was just like, damn, you're right. But he was just like, just apply, give it a couple years and apply. So he kept telling me, give it a couple years. But you know what I did? Dude, when I failed the first 2 times, I just reapplied the next day.
Yeah.
I reapplied the next day. I just give it a go. I was like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Unless the chief of police tells me, don't apply, I will continue to apply.
Absolutely.
So the saving grace on this, and this is what I tell you for anybody that's watching this, if you got somebody that is aspiring to be a cop and like they've gone through the ringer, they haven't passed for some reason, show them this because it's gonna inspire them. Yeah. The 3rd time I went through to get through the process, bro, I made it all the way up to the chief review where you got the folders to get into the academy. And I had remember my BG was just like, yo, you gotta do something special that's gonna make you stand out, bro. Because I don't know. I don't think the chief's gonna pick you. So I took 2 months of work off my corporate job, took paid vacation. I went to every single homeless shelter, bro. I went to the food bank in Oakland, and I devoted 8 hours every day for 2 months. Grinded it out, dude. I was at Thanksgiving with my apron by myself, like, dun-dun-dun. My mom was like, where are you going for Thanksgiving? I was just like, I gotta feed the homeless. She's like, oh, good job, mijo. I'm proud of you. Yeah. But little did she know, I was just like, dude, like, I just gotta make this shit happen. No excuses. So I'm over there doing my thing, and then the coordinators for those agencies, they endorsed me, bro. Wow. Yeah, they were just like, bro, we want you to be a cop in our community.
You're the real one.
You're a real one because you took 2 months. You're showing that you want to be here. This is your 3rd time. And then that was the saving grace, bro. And I remember the day that they called me, bro. It was actually like, I would say one of the proudest moments. And I know it sounds cliche, guys, but I was sitting in my car and I remember I got a phone call and I'm like, fuck, I was sorry. But I was waiting to get disappointed again, bro. Cause I had 2 phone calls that they were like, hey bro, you didn't make it, sorry. But this one, he was just like, hey man, congratulations. I was just like, no way, dude. I was super proud. I called everybody, called my mom. I was like, Mom, I made it. She was like, oh my God. Yeah. And then my stepdad, he's just like, I had a dream the other night that you were gonna be a cop. I was like, this guy, right? Shout out Pablo, man. Pablo, you're a good dude. But no, yeah, man, so it was good. It was very rewarding. But the thing is, now it was game time for me because here's the thing. Up to that moment, those 3 years, dude, I was running like no other, bro. I was running like no other. I was getting my body ready just in case, right? Because I didn't want to go in the academy and gas out because I was like picking like a lot of the officers that were currently there, their thoughts on everything in the process. They're like, yeah, you got to be able to run 8 miles, not gas out. You got to be able to go ahead and like, we do a lot of extra tactical training in Oakland because a lot of times we don't have our SWAT team available and you're going to go with a partner by yourself and clear a house, dude. Yeah. And I was just like, bro, like, really? And they were like, yeah. So you gotta be able to sustain that level of energy at all times. So when I went to Academy, bro, I went in there, like, I didn't go in there to make friends. Yeah. I didn't go in there to make friends.
You're on a mission.
Bro, a lot of people thought I was stuck up. Straight up. Like, by the second half, I had a really good friend. Shout out Josue Mora. And his wife is still officer, but with I think Fremont. And I remember Josue one day, he's just like, "Hey, bro, like, why are you coming in with like you look like very business like oriented? Like I'm coming in with my planner, bro, like squared away.
You're locked on.
I'm locked in, bro. I was like, bro, don't talk to me if it ain't about business." And that's how it was the entire academy, bro. But it was my saving grace because later on I learned that at that time, I don't know how it is now. It's Game of Thrones. It's very political in police departments. That's just what it is. People of power, sometimes they'll switch on you just because you're going in there, you pass the test and all that, they still have leeway to determine if you're gonna pass or not. Give you a great example. We have I'm pretty sure you guys know what Red Man is in police academy. Well, in certain Red Mans, dude, we would be able to tell who got their ass beat during the Red Man when they would give you a rubber baton. And that would be like your exam to pass academy. That's like the last 2 weeks of academy.
Right.
Bro, I got my ass beat, but I didn't give up.
Right.
I didn't give up. Other people, they got beat down till they black out. That's just what it is. Right. That's what it is, and they failed. Imagine you go through academy for 5.5 months. The last 2 weeks, they beat you down because you were mouthing off, because you were thinking you were king shit. Well, you just got humbled. You're either gonna go through another 6 months of academy, or guess what? You're gonna quit. And that's what they want. They want people that are gonna perform, because in the street, it's the same thing. Ain't nobody gonna save you. Yeah. In the street, ain't nobody gonna go ahead and pull you out. Yeah. Especially when you're calling, code 33, I need help, I'm getting my ass beat. Nah, dude. Yeah. You're going to war, especially in a city like that. You gotta be mentally prepared to go ahead and handle business. Yeah. So when I graduated from academy on Halloween 2014, the very next day, man, I basically got deployed, worked night shift with my first FTO. Shout out Stevie Mitchell. You changed my life, bro. My boy Stevie Mitchell, the reason why I always reference Stevie Mitchell in everything that I do is because he was the first real mentor that I had in the police department. He was the dude that sat me down. He was like a real guy. He didn't think he was king shit. He didn't have a chip on his shoulder. He was just very humble dude. And he sat me down. He was just like, hey, dude, so, your RTOs, they talk good about you. They say you're squared away, you don't talk and all that shit. It's all good with me. He's like, well, bro, I'm going to tell you something. When we're out there, you handle business. And I was like, all right. And he's like, here's my card. This was the funny part. He's like, here's my card. If you ever drink, call me.
Got it.
That is a real mentor.
Yeah.
That is a real mentor. That's what I'm talking about, right? And I was just like, damn, dude. Like, I was like, yeah, that's a real one. Because, see, the thing is, he's looking out for you.
Yeah.
He's looking out for you. And that's what a mentor's supposed to do. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be like, all right, dude, I want to protect you because you're one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what he saw in me. So even like the next 90 days during field training field training that I had with him throughout Oakland, towards the end of it, dude, we got into a situation where we chased a 211 robbery. This guy at 4 a.m. in the morning just got robbed, and he came up running to our car. And I remember I was driving, he was in the passenger seat, and at the time it's cold as hell, dude. So we're just like, sipping our coffee, in the middle of the night. And I'm thinking like, yes, next 2 hours, I'm about to get off, about to go to sleep, Dude comes up like, they just robbed me. It was like 3 male Hispanics, young guys, like in their 20s. And like, one of them got a gun. So then automatically, I'm like, all right, cool. Boop. I put it out the radio. Hey, code 33. We got 3 armed suspects. And then boom, they start running. I go through like the parking lot of a Safeway in the city of Oakland. And I remember one of the guys, they all split 3 ways. The guy with the gun, I ended up getting him on foot chase, pop him, the gun freaking flies, arrested him, boom, 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 walking back to the car, get the gun. And I remember Stevie was like, bro, he's like, you're a fucking G, bro. You about to be somebody. And I was just like, thanks, bro. Like, because it's like a proud moment. Like, you graduated. Right. Like, I didn't have to go ahead and tell you what to do. Right. And it's just like the same thing with me now in business. Right. It's just like, I love to mentor people, dude, where I could get them to a point of the level where they can make their own decisions. Yeah. They can perform, and they don't need me anymore. Yeah.
And save that thought for me, because I know we're going to get into your ventures, and you've embarked in so many things, and we definitely want to hear. Yeah. But let's kind of rewind the clock a little bit. So here you are. Well, first and foremost, the first question I want to ask you is, when you saw this Internal Affairs or this IA Guy podcast, you're out there, social media, you got your businesses. What was your first impression, just out of curiosity?
IA Guy.
And the reason why I ask, right, is because we can agree that internal affairs is a topic by which it's not talked about enough.
No, absolutely.
1, 2, it's very taboo.
Yeah.
And no one wants to talk about, their issues, What do you think?
No, 100%, man. And I think it's based on somebody's level of experience, right? So when you talk to newer officers, I know in my department, it was like 5 years and under, right?
Okay.
Newer officers, they're basically trained to say like, hey, this is how you avoid IA, right? Like, and I'm talking about avoid IA by like doing things the right way.
Correct.
Right? Make sure you have your PDRD on, your camera on. Make sure that you do everything by the SOPs. You know, make sure you do everything by policy. Don't create case law. You know, stay out of trouble. Don't do the crazy stuff. Awful duty, right? And for a lot of the officers, I think what I see now, okay, now that I have stepped out of that realm and I've done some of the craziest stuff in law enforcement, I could say, and I can truly say that, is that it comes down to extreme ownership of the officer. There's a certain way that you can still police with your hand tied behind your back. And the only reason why I can say that is because I speak from experience, okay? I worked at the Oakland Police Department in Northern California where they were under federal oversight for the past 20 years.
Oh,
like
yeah.
something crazy.
Oh, no, of course.
So we're like literally a handicapped law enforcement department. Let's keep it real.
Let's keep it real. Hey, anytime that you are on the elevator and, you know, you just, you know, decide to accidentally, what do they call it? Negligent discharge or accidental discharge?
Yeah.
AD, ND, whatever you want to call it, and pick up the cases and, you know,
Toss 'em?
and toss them. It's no big deal. And all of a sudden, as it goes to the levels of review and we kind of sweep it under the rug. Yeah, no, I get it.
Extreme ownership, man. You know, I know the exact incident that you're talking about. You know, I wasn't there during that time,
Right.
but I think I had left a little bit, probably like a year before. But for that situation, you know, it takes extreme ownership, man. Like, just do the right thing, and you won't get in trouble.
Yeah, and you can probably agree with me. Look, I know I make, you know, there's a sense of humor with me too. The Riz, as the kids call it, where I'm kind of making fun of it, but in reality, if you really think about it, to your point, you have to take ownership. And I think as cops, we don't, especially when we do something wrong. What do you think?
No, you're right, bro. No, you're right. Because at the end of the day, you know, with everything that you do, every decision making, there's going to be a good and a bad.
Right.
So you are determining if you're whether to go ahead and take ownership of the bad for the risk of the good. And in police work, here's the thing. We all know that when we're going against evil, because we are, dude, on a daily basis, right? Yeah. I was a very proactive cop.
Correct.
My first 6 months in policing out of FTO, I arrested 285 people. And the only reason why I know that is because I ran it like a business. And I'm not talking about like, oh, he had a quota. No. I'm just very business oriented.
Yeah, no, totally.
So like I would always say like, okay, cool. Like today I had like 4 arrests, 5 arrests. And then, as you know, healthy competition with other police officers. You're young. You want to promote. You want to go to the Seeker Squirrel CRT units. You want to go ahead and promote to like detective fast. So what I did was I was like, okay, how can I be an effective police officer, but also stay out of the limelight, stay out of AI's radar? And the way I was able to do it is the articulation of how I would approach every situation. Yeah. With me, being a police officer, I would think, especially now in 2025, but also back when I was doing it from 2014 up to 2021, I would go into every situation neutral. It didn't matter what crime was being committed. I would treat everybody the same. At the end of the day, my job is to go ahead and take you in cuffs. Yeah. That's it. That was my job. If I could successfully do that, I did my job properly. I always thought customer service oriented because at the end of the day, we're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to provide customer service. Yeah. That was my mindset. Yeah. Every time my boys or anyone else, an officer, even if I didn't know them, and I saw them get raised up and they'd be like, oh, I'm about to jack this guy. I was like, dude, you need to freaking relax. I was like, at the end of the day, what's going to happen if you go ahead and let's say you punch somebody because you're pissed right now, you're getting emotional, you can't handle your emotions because you're not emotionally intelligent, and then they're gonna go ahead and what's gonna happen? IA, bro. And then IA is gonna wreck you for 6 months. And guess what? Who's gonna be hurting? Them or you? No, they're gonna get a lawsuit. They're gonna get paid millions. And guess what? You might have to sell your freaking Ford Raptor. You might have to go ahead and go live in a little apartment now because you're a dumbass.
To that point, would you agree with me when I tell you, quote unquote, the punishment's not the penalty. The punishment is the process.
Oh yeah, it is. You know why? Because the process, they leave you in limbo, dude. They leave you in limbo. So by the time it's all psychological. You got to think about it like that. It's just like you don't know what's about to happen. It's not like, you know, you're gonna get your notifications right away. No, it's the fact that you got in trouble. Now they might put you on probation. You might go and have to go inside. You can't go on the street, and then, you know, there's always rumors.
100%.
Police department.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows, dude. The
How many
police
stations
department.
are in Oakland, if you don't mind me asking?
Two.
If I got an IA in one station, you think the other station knows about your IA?
100%. There's a text thread, social media.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows, bro. It's like high school, straight up. That's police work.
Let me ask you this. During your time in the academy in 2014, what was your impression of internal affairs then compared to today? And if it has changed, if that impression has changed,
right?
How so?
Yeah, back in academy days, if I'm gonna be real honest with you, I didn't really have an opinion yet because I just took it day by day, and that was one thing that really helped me out because there's a lot of people that are very intelligent people out there, but they think too much.
If I may interject, let me ask you this now, as you reflect on that right now. You think if anyone from internal affairs would have came into your academy, would that would have helped you knowing what the process is? Yes or no?
Oh no, 100%. And we did have somebody come from IA, but it was very vague. It wasn't like, you know, they just give you the spiel where they're like, hey guys, just do the right thing.
Okay.
At the end of the day, you guys are being scrutinized. You have to be set to a higher standard, all that jazz.
Okay.
Right? But in all reality, I think there's different methods that could be upgraded within policing and also the right leaders and the right people to put in front of new candidates.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I take police academy, like if I was an RTO in a police academy, I lead by example. You know, I run a couple multi-million-dollar businesses now as an entrepreneur, but the only reason why I've been able to do that is because I have done all the work myself.
Correct.
I did everything from doing desk work to doing phone calls to customer service. And now anytime I get a new employee or I'm going ahead and I'm promoting somebody, I'm teaching them exactly how I would do it.
Correct.
So now I'm setting the standard.
Correct.
So it's the same thing, whether you're an IA, a sergeant, a lieutenant, it doesn't matter. You always have to lead by example because here's the thing. Now your people won't respect you if you haven't done the work. And I think that's what happens a lot of times, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, let's be honest, there are cops that are labeled report writers, right? They dodge all the risky calls. They go ahead and they don't back up their squad. And then you have the proactive guys. Usually what ends up happening is the proactive guys, they go do good police work. And then they get sent to be investigations because they're too much liability,
right?
You know, to be on the street.
Right. The other question I was going to ask you is, if you're in a room full of sergeants today, right now, okay, you got the podium, and they're getting ready to begin their internal affairs investigative assignment. Hey, you know, they're voluntold, whatever, right?
Yeah.
What's the one thing you want them to know about that job? What do you think?
They have to stay neutral. They have to stay neutral. They cannot get emotional about it because I know there's a lot of people out there that do not have emotional intelligence when it comes to it. And it's the same thing in business, same thing in law enforcement. You're selling and you're also dealing with emotions. So at the end of the day, if you're going ahead and you're being biased versus whoever's, you know, on the rap sheet for the IA case, dude, just see who they are as a person, right? Because it justifies a lot of the decision making. If you got a superstar, and we could go into this later, what was the incident that changed my life?
Yes.
It involved, you know, a DUI and all that jazz.
It was an IA.
It was an IA, dude.
Yeah.
It was an IA that
the
changed.
best IA story, probably.
It
changed your life.
It changed my life, dude. It changed my life. And I actually didn't start telling this story. You know, I wrote a book a couple years ago. I didn't even involve it in the book because the reason why, I was so scared to be judged.
Yeah.
I was so scared to be judged. But I'm gonna write my second book at the end of this year, and I'm gonna include it.
That's
right?
awesome.
But now
make sure you put the IA guy in there.
I will, bro. I will. You know, I'll include the picture we just took.
Go ahead.
But
Sorry.
no, man. So what it comes down to it's just like you really got to take the person's background, who they are as a person.
Yeah.
Have they done phenomenal police work? How long they've been with the department? Overall, you got to go see who their sergeants, their lieutenants, their captains, and what do they say about them? Right? Because in my IA case, which we'll get into a little bit, they went to the top tier veteran officers who everybody respected, and they asked them about me. They asked him about me. They were like, how's Espinosa?
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, that dude is squared away.
Right.
And it helped.
Yeah.
And it helped because it was now they were able to have some wiggle room, right? In the gray, like everything else.
Character and reputation means a lot.
It
in law
means
enforcement.
it's 100%,
Well, in any career.
dude. In any career, that's just the way it is, right? If you're a jackass, if you're an asshole, if no one likes you, and then you do something stupid that's going to end up getting you an IA, guess what? More than likely, you're going to get the short end of the stick. That's just what it comes down to, right?
100%.
And you got to play the game. Like, you got to play the game in life. That's why I say don't burn bridges, dude. Don't network with everybody. It doesn't matter if you like them, don't like them. No. Befriend them. You got to learn the game.
That's right. Keep your haters close.
That's it.
I say that only to say that I feel as though this particular function, like we talked earlier, it's not that it's not talked about enough, but you even said neutral. Did you get a sense that when you're in the department, there is some, I suppose, favoritism or
100%.
You know, like, hey, you know what? Oh shit, I got an eye. It's Paul FT. Fuck that guy.
Oh, 100%.
Right? 1, 2, or you know what? Yeah, he's cool. You know, we're good to go.
100%.
We haven't even started. We just barely got the intake.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And then would you also consider, and I know you know this because you were an investigator, you were a detective for quite some time. My motto has been no stone goes unturned. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. You have to be diligent.
Do you think there has been situations where you've seen where it hasn't when it comes to IAs?
All the time. All the time.
Now, let me ask you this. Why do you think that is?
Why? Because, like I said, I lead by example. So just because, you know, okay, it's all about perception. At the end of the day, it could be me and you. We're both IA investigators. And then it could be somebody that sees we're doing the same report. And they see the quality of work that you've done. And they see the quality of work I've done. Now, that person is probably like, well, based on what Marlon did, dude, Marlon did way more due diligence than Paul did, right? So now there's a certain level, depending on who the officer is, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not a big believer in allowing officers that are lazy, don't have any credible work experience, getting promoted fast to be investigators, or to go ahead and be an IA. How are you going to go ahead and be able to determine a veteran who's been in the department for 20 years and be able to determine their livelihood? That doesn't make sense to me. Everybody in IA needs at least a minimum of like 10 years, 15 years. Put the OGs in there. Don't put the youngsters in there. It's the same thing with recruiting. How are you going to get somebody that's overweight, 250 pounds? And hey, it is what it is. I was overweight, dude. I was overweight. Not in the department, but last year.
Okay.
Last year, I was an additional 45 pounds heavier.
Okay.
It was the worst year since 2020 that I've gained that much weight. It actually led me to depression. And dude, it was the best financial year that I ever had last year. I was running 3 companies, 200 employees, bro, killing it in entrepreneurship. But health-wise, I was just, my mental game was not there.
Right.
So, same thing in policing. Dude, how people perceive you is everything.
I know.
You need to have the guys and gals that are the smartest, most in shape. You know, there should be a physical agility test every quarter.
PFQs, man.
Yeah, dude, there should be.
Let's go.
You know how much of a liability is it putting an overweight officer in a situation? Brother, I'm gonna do it like this. I'm not saying that I'm like last action hero, but the reason why I've been able to avoid like violent confrontations, I've been in a few scuffles, but violent confrontations like over and over again, like there's a lot of guys that have those confrontations, is because how I'm going ahead and I'm perceived from the crook. If they see that you're hot and tight, you're squared away, they see that you got shiny boots, they see you're in shape and you're solid, more than likely, guess what? They're not gonna try nothing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, de-escalate.
That's right.
The DUI. Let's talk about that since we're in with the topic of that's what happened. It was an IA. I suppose the first thing I'd like to know is were they fair, reasonable, equitable? What do you think?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So this is the basically the layout of the situation. So actually, the shirt that I'm wearing is Alameda County Narcotics Task Force. So I was on this task force for about 3.5 years, and it was a county-wide task force made of all the departments. So there was probably like 11, 12 departments. I was the only detective out of my department, out of 800 officers to go to this unit.
Wow.
I was also only 2.5 years in.
Okay.
Before that, I had done, it was very similar to gangs. It was called our crime reduction team.
Okay.
In Deep East Oakland. So a lot of the priorities that we were doing, it was just primarily investigating gangs. So when I did this, we went from being the worst agency in the task force, because obviously they rank you, to being the best. And the reason why is because I was knocking down probably 8 to 10 raids a month. I was bringing in millions of dollars in confiscation of, heroin, coke, fentanyl. When it started coming out, I was working with the feds, FBI, DEA, all that jazz. I was bringing in millions of dollars for that task force. And it was under Sheriff Ahern. Shout out to Sheriff Ahern. Not sure if you're still with Alameda County, dude. You are AG. With that being said, they really took care of me.
Okay.
They really showed me the pinnacle of police work, man. Like, we're talking about, like, man, every police movie that you see out there where you're like the undercover guy and you throw the task vest and you're just knocking through doors, I've experienced all that, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my department, they didn't really believe in dope. They didn't believe like, oh, it's gonna be a priority. They believed more on violent crimes because it was Oakland, right? Yeah. We had like 10, 15 homicides a week. We had like 200 robberies a day. Like, it was insane. So we couldn't delegate officers for a vice squad. We couldn't delegate officers for a straight narcotic unit. So when I went to the task force, I was like, yes, because I was like, dude, I want to do that type of police work. So that's where I learned how to be a dope cop. That's where I learned to be a detective.
You're a dope cop. Yeah. Got it.
That's where I learned how to lead by example. So did that for 3.5 years. Got burnt out, okay? Because I was living and sleeping and eating task force. That's it, dude. That's all I was doing. I was grinding, worked with LA Impact guys, worked with guys from every other state in the United States. It was a daydream, dude. Seeing away multiple times.
That's what defined you.
Yeah, that's what
the
defined. Literally, yes, that is the correct term. I was living and dying by task force. I was proud, dude. Like, I was just like, nobody's messing with me.
That's right.
Right? And my crew, we were all top tier. We were like, bro, like, 3.5 years, I finally was just like, you know what? It's time. I was about to come up on my 5 years. And remember what I told you. Usually departments, they consider you a rookie up to 5 years. But to me, I was just like, you know what, dude? I'm not trying to say I had a chip on my shoulder, but I knew more than the average officer in my department. That's just what it is. Right. You have to own it. You have to own it. I always say, speak it into existence and just execute. Yeah. So I always let my actions go ahead and speak for themselves. I never talk. I just take action. So I was like, I'm going to be a sergeant. I want to be a young sergeant. I was like, as soon as I hit 5 years, dude, I'm going to apply. Bro, the amount of hate that I got from the current sergeants at that time, because I remember I had a case. I went to a sergeant's room. And I remember there were sergeants with like probably like 10, 15 years on. And I walk in and I was like, hey guys, just quick question. And I knew all of them, man. I'm a nice guy, right? I got a big heart. And I was like, hey, like, how did you guys prepare for the sergeant exam? And they're like, why are you asking? And I was like, well, bro, like, it's coming up. I'm coming on my 5 years. I actually want to apply. Bro, the amount of hate, you can tell when somebody's hating, like when they just switch up on you, they go like, oh, what's up, Paul? And then they're like, what? You? I don't play that shit. See, the thing is, I determine somebody's skill and what they have done. If you have done it faster, easier, and simpler than the other guys that takes 20 years, hell yeah, I'm about to promote you. I'm going to promote you quick. I want the best of the best. So I decided, and I told my lieutenant, the sergeant at the time, I was like, hey, man, I want to go to SVU, Special Victims Unit. And they're like, bro, why do you want to go to the weird department, man? They're like, nobody wants to do SVU. They're like kitty crimes, the rapists, all that. Nobody wants to see that, right? And I was like, because I've been a dope and gun cop my entire career, bro. Like, I got to learn it before I become a sergeant, because the last thing I would want is to do a disservice to my patrol unit, right? So when I become a sergeant and they're like, hey, Sarge, how do you do, what are the elements to this 261? Or like, what do I do with the start kit? I could tell them, like, this is what I would do. Boom, 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 right? I don't want to fake it to make it. That's not me, dude. So I went over there, I transitioned, went against everybody's word, bro. But this is how God led me to where I'm at today. Went to that department. I had to re-interview. They knew the level of skill that I had. I had written in excess of 100 warrants at that time. Like, the normal cop in my department would probably write 2. I'm being so real, and I'm sorry, guys. Anybody from OPD, it is what it is. There was another guy named Boomer. G. He was probably writing, shout out
to
Boomer. Yeah, I know he's retired, but he was the only other dude that I knew wrote like thousands of warrants. He was like the warrant guy. He taught the class.
Yeah.
So when I went in there, you know, I'm like, hey man, like you need to put me in as like, give me your hardest cases. I want something challenging. Don't give me no domestic violence investigation. No. Give me the best of the best. So the lieutenant at that time, he's like, I'm gonna take care of you, dude. You're actually gonna go straight to Vice. You're gonna work on the FBI task force. You're gonna be the lead guy. Well, I started bumping heads with the sergeant of that unit because he thought he was hot and tight. We're boys now. He's cool. I ain't gonna say his name.
Okay.
But at that time, we bumped heads. That's how it is in law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
So I come in there. He knows my skill set. So then they end up sitting me at the desk doing youth services for like the first 4 months, bro. And my lieutenant's like, hey man, when are you going to the thing? I was like, bro, they lightweight, like, fuck me. Like, I'm sitting at the desk. I'm like a high paid freaking receptionist. What's up? And he's just like, nah. We're gonna take care of this. So I end up getting into the unit. I'm doing 3 months of police work. Brother, I had 38 informants in the narcotics task force. One of my informants was ready and working on a case where we were gonna bring in, he was already working on a deal where he was negotiating 100 people that was getting human trafficked from Tijuana, and they were gonna transport them into Oakland.
Okay.
I was just like, all right, cool. How much you want for this? Because obviously we pay the informants or whatever. He's like, I want da-da-da. Okay, cool. I'm setting it up. I'm going to the sergeant. I'm like, hey, dude, I got a fat ass case. Guaranteed. He was already, what do we call them, informant certified?
Yeah.
When you go ahead and you do their sheets.
Yeah, confidential, reliable informant.
That's right.
CRI.
It's been a minute, guys. It's been a minute. So
I just learned that.
hey, man. But yeah, so I'm giving him a platter. I'm like, dude, this will make the news. You guys, man, you get promoted to lieutenant. You know how it is, man. And he's like, nah, he wasn't comfortable.
Okay.
He wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
So he was just like, whatever. I'm like, bro, what's going on? Like, really? Like, I'm here to do some police work. So then I won over my unit because they were like, dude, like, you're just on it. Like, you're like this. And that's how I've always been, dude. I've always been like, hey, urgency. Let's go. Now. Cases. Like, I'm a numbers guy. So then 2019 happens. It was the night before Thanksgiving. I remember nightclub promoter. My past life, I was a party boy, bro. Like, you know, I would drink, the girls, have fun and all that stuff. But once I became a cop, I locked in, dude. It was almost like I had an addiction to the adrenaline rush of just winning. You know, going ahead and doing good work for the people. I cared about the community. I cared about people. I invested so much into it, dude. I love law enforcement. I still do. I still back the blue, right? I even got tatted on me. But with that being said, we went out for drinks with my new unit. And then there was a little salsa bar next to my house at that time. And I remember, you know, dude, I blacked out. I blacked out from drinking, okay? At that time, was I alcoholic? I would say no, my personal opinion, because I didn't have to go ahead and have a drink at home. I didn't have to go actively drink.
We know who they are.
Dude, it's just what it is. It is what it is, right? And I call my faults. I'm an adult. I'm a grown man. Like, you know, I come out and I say, like, what I mess up on. You know, extreme ownership. That's just what it is. That's how I am. So when that had happened, dude, I had gone home. I got dropped off. My boys dropped me off. They took care of me. But I was doing so much overtime, bro, okay, that, mind you, as a cop, you ever heard that cops have heart attacks after they go ahead and retire after 50? Like, because your heart rate is elevated almost every single day for the amount of years that you worked as a cop. So it was the same thing. And now that I reflect on it so many times, because people always ask me, when was the transition that got you into entrepreneurship? When was the transition that you actually went ahead and actually made it happen for yourself and created what you created now? And I told him, I was like, it was when I got into the worst situation where I thought I was gonna lose everything. So that night, I go ahead and get dropped off. I sleep for 5 hours. And I wake up, I feel groggy, dude. I feel groggy. But, you know, when I wake up, I always feel groggy. So it's nothing new to me. I get ready, I put on my blues. I was supposed to do a turkey trot.
Okay.
And I put on a sweater over my uniform. And then I had a take-home detective car, okay? It was first day of rain that day. It was Thanksgiving Day. And 6 a.m., I'm like, okay, cool. I got an hour to make it to line up. As soon as I get on the road, I get into a small fender bender with a Toyota truck, Okay, it was a pool guy. I was like, hey, I got out. I was like, hey, everything good? He's like, yeah, everything's good. California Highway Patrol rolls up. Okay, and I actually know the guy. He had taken a burglary, a 459 auto, in my neighborhood, probably a couple months ago. So I know the guy, and he's like, hey, dude, why are your eyes so red? I was like, oh, dude, I just woke up, I got some sleep. I'm actually gonna go do a traffic control post on overtime. He's like, oh, okay. Hey, just stand by. I was like, all right, no problem, And then motor cop comes. Motor cop, dude, he came off like a bull. He was like, hey, you fucking drinking? I was just like, bro, no. Like, I drank last night, right? Because, mind you, dude, it's about intention. I didn't go in with the intention of drinking and driving.
Right.
Like, I slept it off.
Right.
So he's like, you smell like cologne, bro. I was like, bro, I'm Hispanic. What's up? Like, I said, straight cologne, bro. Like, what are we trying to say, bro? And they put it in the report. I could smell the scent of cologne brimming through his clothes. I was like, obviously, come on, bro. So
cool water.
Yeah, exactly. So so that happens. Basically, they breathalyzed me, and I thought I went over the limit. I don't recall what the meter said or whatever, but they were like, hey, bro, you're above the limit. He's like, I got to take your gun, and we're going to call your sergeant. Wow. Bro, at that time, mind you, this is like 2019. So let's all go back to what 2019 was for everybody. Yeah. What is it? BLM, all these protests. They were crucifying police left to right.
Yeah.
My chief at the time, and we had like 8 chiefs that year.
Defund movement.
Yeah, was like, yo, if we catch people drinking and driving in this department, you're screwed.
You're screwed.
So in my mind, I'm defeated, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How did I go from doing all this great work, being a golden boy in my department, to now being in the back of a cop car in my cop uniform? I was like, bro, this is like the worst day of my life.
Wow.
So then they go ahead, they do the, what is it, the Dracolyzer or the?
SFST, the standard field sobriety test.
They do that, but they took me to the station. They made me do like the machine.
Yeah. The BAC.
Yeah.
The machine.
The machine that basically is just like.
Boom.
Yeah.
You get booked the whole
You're
night.
done. And one of my good friends actually picks me up. He picks me up, Josue, okay? And he's like, bro, you're screwed. The whole department knows. And to go back to high school, the whole department already knew.
Of course.
How did they know? Because there was another officer that drove past the incident.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, Espinoza got popped. He's got a
that's that we call him the Blue Falcon.
The Blue Falcon, bro. And I was just like, you
the
fuckers.
Blue Falcon.
He's like, they announced it during lineup. And I was just like, you fucking hating ass sergeant piece of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And not everybody's going to like you,
culture.
bro.
That's the way it goes.
It's the way it goes.
Let me ask you this, Paul, because I know this is pretty much the turning point, right, of your career.
I was about to be a movie next.
I take it you're you get adjudicated, you get skellied, you get served. What was the penalty, if you don't mind me asking?
So I wasn't allowed to go on the street. It was like 18 months, dude.
Okay. Did you take suspension?
I took suspension for like 3 months, no pay.
Okay.
But here's realistically the thing that actually transformed me to who I am today. Mm-hmm. I talked to a therapist that exact day. Mm-hmm. And I had asked him, I was like, hey, man, like, based on my situation, am I an alcoholic? And he's like, I can't answer that for you. And I was just like, dude, why is it that the one time that I've gone out all year, I get blacked out drunk, and this happens to me? And he goes, because of the profession that you do, bro. He opens my eyes when he says it. He's like, you're addicted to what makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. And a lot of officers got to understand that.
Yeah, the dopamine.
The dopamine, bro.
You got to have it.
I was addicted to dopamine, and that's why I was always about work. Mm-hmm. Dude, I sacrificed everything for that department, bro. You're like, you don't understand. I sacrificed everything for that department.
That defined you. 100%.
Bro, I was OPD for life.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what it is for most cops. We live and we die policing. It's in us, right?
Yeah.
So that perspective now, I was just like, so what should I do about it? He's like, I'm going to be real with you. I think you should go to rehab. Mm-hmm. And I was like, will it help me? And he's like, yeah. So I made that hard decision, bro, that day. Like, I was just like, all right, I'll go ahead and try it. So I went on a weird vacation for 30 days. Went on a weird vacation for 30 days to rehab. Actually, here's the crazy part. And you're going to be like, whoa. When I was in rehab, when I landed in rehab, right? Initially, I didn't want to tell my parents. And I was just like, Mom, I'm going to go on a secret squirrel mission for 30 days. I'll be back. She's like, during the holidays? Because it was like, bro, like I had missed Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I was going to get released the day before New Year's Eve. And I had told them, I came out with it. They're like, thank God, we thought you got a girl pregnant. I was like, nah. But I was like, everything will be okay. I was like, I'll figure it out. You know how I am. I figure it out. And then they were like, okay, we feel better. So when they dropped me off, I remember I brought my big suitcase, man. I was in my hoodie. I was like, damn, I cannot believe I'm here right now. This is like crazy to me. Like my whole world just shifted, bro. So then they're like, hey, you're bunkered with another guy from another PD. This is the crazy part, bro. And I'm not going to drop his name because I want to still respect him. I still know him. He's a good dude. But it was an officer from SFPD, from San Francisco PD. And he's also Peruvian. Isn't that crazy, bro?
That is crazy.
Yeah, I was just like, bro, you're Peruvian? Me too. So like, we're like, whoa.
Lomo saltado.
Lomo saltado, bro.
Where's it at, bro?
You know, best ceviche, bro, in the
Papa
world. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm
Gotta
talking
have it
about,
all, bro.
You know, gotta show love. But with that being said, yeah, so the dude told me his incident. His incident's crazy. He went to basically a basketball game with his mom, took a couple tequila shots. You know who rocked him, dude? It was the meter maid. The meter maid was like, he's drinking and driving, because he got into a verbal argument with her.
Now the Blue Falcons. There's always one.
Yeah, bro. It was crazy. So he got popped. He's like, bro, and I'm here. So anyways, so we're bunkmates, and at that time, I was like, I'm going to bring some reading material with me. Before that, man, I had started a little side business when I was a cop. It had to do with ATMs, automated teller machines. So I was making my money on the side with that, and I had did that because a friend of mine, dude, he was in my ear for like years about it. He was just like, bro, you got to do it. I was like, when are you going to do it? And he was like, I don't know. I got family, but you single dude, you got money. It's like, come on, bro, invest. So I ended up doing it, and I took the corporate sales skills that I had, and I was able to do that on the side. I got permission from, my command staff. One thing that I could tell you guys is, when you're a cop, and if you're still a cop, if you ever want to do a side hustle, the proper way of doing it is to always go to your supervisor and tell them, hey, I'm going to have a business. I need to get the approval. And usually in every department, there's like a SOP where you have to tell them what type of business. Correct. Because I think the conflict is they don't want you to do like a security company.
Of course.
Right. And they don't want you to use your gun and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to serve two masters.
Exactly. So just be careful with that, guys. It's liability. So yeah, man. So I went through that process. So I had that little side hustle side. One of my boys just covered me while I was in rehab. But when I had met him, I had started going ahead and actually looking into the business world in different industries. So I brought like a list of books with me while I was in rehab. So all I did, man, was work out, eat, and I went to 183 AA meetings. I'm not like, bro, like 183 within a month. So I literally went to 4 to 6 meetings a day. And this is actually where I learned to open up. Because before, yes, I could go ahead as a case agent for like hundreds of cases. I could go ahead and command presence and all that jazz. I could lead people to war or whatever. But when it came to opening up and sharing my feelings and sharing who I am and like going deeper into thought and psychology of why humans do what they do, it wasn't until I got into that room with normal people that actually were highly successful in life. Actually, the rehab that I went to, dude, I don't know if the department hooked it up, but they went ahead, and it was actually like a celebrity freaking rehab center where like Robin Williams went before, where like a lot of high-end entrepreneurs went into. And that's actually what opened my eyes to it. I was just like, dude, you guys chose to be here. They're like, yeah. They're like, when we don't feel right, we're around people that support us.
Right.
And I was like, and that started
It's just department mandated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
part of the penalty was this.
Correct. Yes. So that was an option, right? Because otherwise, I think my suspension would have been 6 months.
Okay.
So I went there, completely changed my view. I came back, you could say softer, because I went in hard. And when I say hard, guys, I was just by the book.
Yeah.
I'm about to handle business.
That makes sense.
I don't care what anybody thought. I'm going to do me, right? And I came back and I was just like, I reflect so much in my life. I was just like, dude, something changed when I went there. So when I came back to the department, I just couldn't let it go. I actually got into deep depression, bro. I got into deep depression after I came back to the department because now, I was sat down. I was still in investigations, but I was sat down. I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
I felt like, a highly paid secretary.
Yeah.
And
handcuffed.
then on top of that, the whole department is looking down on me. They're you got caught
That's
up,
right.
all this shit. That's just the way it is. It's high school. So now, I'm like, dude, who am I? Who am I? Is this gonna be me for the next 30 years? Am I gonna be that overweight dude in the back room just over there chilling and shit? The good old times. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. So then I went ahead and, started doing my due diligence with facing that I had to go through that. And I had a good support system. But the one thing I would tell you about the department is that they had phenomenal people that work there that care about each other as well. Obviously, you're going to have both sides. But during those hard times, man, what helped me a lot was seeking just good people to have conversations with.
Right.
And you need good people to support you during those hard times. Because I know there's a lot of cops out there that you might be feeling some type of way. You might be depressed. You might
100%.
be they're like, bro, I can't talk to nobody. I can't even talk to my wife, my girl, whatever. I get you. And, a testament to this was, I threw a second live event for one of my companies yesterday. I had a little bit over 230 people there. Half of them were cops.
Yeah, we were talking about
from
that.
Southern California. And so many of them came up to me and they were like, bro, thank God I got to actually meet you for the first time ever because you changed my life. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, bro, if it wasn't for your story and how real you are as a person, you're super genuine and you're real in person, like how you are on social media, dude, you actually helped me continue in law enforcement. And I was like, dude, that's fucking awesome.
I'm going to interject right there because I want to ask you this. What have you learned about yourself through this whole journey?
Oh, man.
What do you think?
It's one of those things that you have to, number one, I learned that you have control over everything in your life. I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, why me? Why do bad things happen to me? Well, it all goes back to your decision making. You have a choice whether you're going to go ahead and take an action. And with every action, it's never just one-sided. It's never one-sided. There's always going to be good and bad. So you always have to prepare your mindset to where, okay, cool. If I make this decision, worst case scenario, I have to be ready to receive it. And I have to be able to handle it and be mentally prepared. Because especially in police work, man, the best cops have a bulletproof mindset. It's not a bulletproof vest. It's not a bulletproof freaking anything else. No, it's your mindset. That's what makes you a phenomenal cop. And then you want to earn the respect of your peers. You want to go ahead and lead by example. Do the work. Do the work. Don't go ahead and try to go ahead and think about what everybody else is doing and all that jazz, because that was the demise for a lot of my coworkers.
Yeah.
They would be gossiping left to right about people and shit. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
Focus on you, bro.
Yeah.
It's just you could do the work. You go ahead and level yourself up, bro.
Yeah.
And some listened, some didn't, right?
Yeah.
But for the ones that did, man, they're doing it now. They're happy. They got families. They're living a good life. I think all of us have an opportunity to live a good life. I think all the coppers in law enforcement, you have such a good opportunity to save a lot of money and invest it into businesses. And what you don't know is what you don't know. So you can always ask Marlon and myself, hey, you know any investments, or you know who I could talk to invest, right?
Well, for the record, you're definitely a way more. You remind me a lot of myself as I self-reflect, but I wasn't that smart, and I'll touch on that later on, as you are, with what you got going on. But before I move on to something else, let me ask you this: the department, you went through this DUI.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It's a jab on your pride. Yeah. I mean, your world just went completely upside down. You went from 100 to 0 is what you did. Let me ask you this: as you sit here and reflect on that incident, and I believe you said you could have gotten a 6-month suspension, but yet you took a 3-month suspension and you opted to go to this rehab place.
Correct.
What penalty would have given yourself?
What penalty?
If you were an adjudicator, what would you have given yourself, if any?
You know, I think they were very fair, to be honest with you. Things always happen for a reason. But the one thing that I did like is, and this doesn't happen often, guys, so don't think I'm like special or nothing, right? But it's your network is your net worth. And I'm gonna say the same thing in law enforcement. I had captains, I had deputy chiefs, I even had the chief of police personally call me that day. And they were like, hey, Paul, you're gonna get through this, bro. They're like, I don't know you like that. Even deputy chiefs, like it's an 800 person department, bro.
Yeah.
You're not gonna know the command
100%.
staff, not all of them. And with me, I've always just like, I stuck with my people. Like, you know, in the police department, everybody got their own crew, right? Yeah. You're a good set of homies. So when I got these phone calls, it really opened my eyes to who were the real ones, right? Like the people that care. And I do the exact same thing with my guys now in my companies. You know, I show them that I care. Yes. I show them that like I want them to win, right? And it pushes them to the next level because they're like, damn, if this dude's backing me, he believes in me, he sees more in me, dude, I'm gonna do the best that I can and what I'm capable of doing, right? Yeah. So when it comes down to it, I think it was very fair. And you know, like I said, God wanted this to happen because it led me to what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I totally agree. You know, I always say just a lot of my guests, you know what, faith has it, right? That sometimes you got to go through the storm.
You do, 100%.
To get to where you're at today. Because if you didn't go through all that, you probably wouldn't even be looking at Cashswipe.
No.
Maybe not, right? And so I always say, look, I'm a man of faith, but I always say this to a lot of my guests, and this was taught by a great mentor of mine. Shout out to Commander Jackson. He will always tell me, Marlon, you know what, leave your politics and your egos on the door. This is right when I made sergeant. But what he said the most is that, you know what, God does his best work through people. He uses us as instruments to get to where you want to go, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And so, yeah, man, talk to me about the birth of Cashswipe.
Yeah, man. So basically Cashswipe, just to give you guys the elevator pitch, is that I initially started with ATMs. I was still in the department. Okay. And when I had left because I had started a digital platform called ATM Together initially. Okay. And I started investing in myself. You know, my first program and mentor that I invested was like about 10K. Okay. I still remember the first week that I invested into it. One of my colleagues back in SVU, really smart guy, really funny guy. But I remember I was going through like the modules. I was looking at the group chats and everything. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, well, I'm starting to look at this thing called digital marketing, right? And mind you, Marlon, I wasn't on social media for 8 years. I didn't believe in it. Like I used to call content creators, I used to call online gurus, all those people, like, I'm gonna be honest, clowns. Like I used to be like, bro, like that's all fake. Like TikTok wannabes and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just what I think it was a real job. Right. Like, and that's just what it is. It just comes from experience, right? What you don't know is what you don't know, right? And now I'm doing it, right? Now I'm doing it, and I'm running a multi-million-dollar business off of it. So it's just like, it's funny how it happens, right? Yes. So I ate my words. I ate my words. I owned up to it, guys. Yeah. So when it comes down to it, man, so I did that, and then I remember I started building the platform, and slowly but surely, I call it 6 months of hell. So 6 months of hell. It was during COVID. Okay. I was still working at the department. I was getting about 4 hours of sleep. I was working out for 1 hour a day. I was building the startup phase, bootstrap, bro, bootstrap. And then I still had my ATM business. So I was managing all three, right? But mind you, remember, that was during my time I was highly depressed, bro. So all that depression, I took that energy and I put it towards something positive. I devoted myself to building myself up again. And also I had a lot of haters. So I love my mom, but my mom, she was just like, you're never gonna be what you were doing. You know, she's proving and shit. Yeah. I'm just kidding, bro.
No te voy a dar cocinar tu lomo saltado.
I always say my mom, I love my mom, and she always laughs when she, she's like, why are you talking about me on the podcast? But she always goes and says, no, I always say to her, I was just like, Mom, you're a chihuahua with a lion's voice. Yeah. But if it wasn't for her, man, I wouldn't be the way I am, because she raised me single mother. So shout out to you, Mom. Yeah. Love you. But with that being said, man, I just wanted to prove everybody wrong, that I could come up again, right? So it was the build-up. So I went ahead, 6 months of hell, and then in 2021, the day, actually it was my mom's birthday, in January, I remember I had worked 6 months to try to figure out what would be an irresistible offer in the online space. I had zero following. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Everything that I did was ugly, bro. Like, I'm talking about, like, I tried to do website design. It was ugly, bro. It was a plain Jane.
Yeah.
I tried taking selfies of me. I didn't have the right lighting,
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
like that. I looked like shit. But what I did have, shout out to law enforcement, I knew how to write.
Yeah.
Writing is the best skill set that you can do for yourself in business, because the storyteller is who controls the narrative. So at the end of the day, if you know how to articulate yourself properly, if you're a master communicator,
Yeah.
dude, you're gonna print. You're gonna print. That's what I had for myself. I was beasting on the market with my stories, my post. So my clients, when they would come to me and they would want to do business with me, I was like, hey man, like I would always ask them the calls, why do you want to do business with me? And this is called market research. And they were like, bro, I read your post about, like, you know, you going through like the struggles of starting your business,
Yeah.
and what your family thought about it, and how your girl broke up with you and all
Yeah.
that. And I felt that, bro. And I just wanted to come and connect with you and do business with you. And then it got me thinking, I was just like, wait a minute. The product is not the vehicle. The product is you. And that's where it's going with the online space. And it's already here. So what you guys are going to start seeing now is a lot of companies, they're going to have an attractive character. It's going to have that almost like Ronald McDonald, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, right? When we were kids and all that jazz.
Yeah.
We'd be like, oh, Ronald, right? It would attract us to McDonald's.
Correct.
But in the online space, especially in social media, it's such big business now. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry where you start seeing personal brands. So I'll give you a great example. I lost about 40 pounds the last 6 months. Now I started buying, like, you know, workout clothes.
Yes.
One of the brands I started buying was Gymshark. This kid, he's like 22 years old. He built a $1 billion clothing line. The only way he was able to do it is because he reached out to micro influencers. So basically females and males that had probably a few thousand followers.
Yeah.
And they were highly engaged. And he was like, yo, I'm going to give you some workout clothes, and then all I want you to do is post it. He got so many of those micro influencers that it blew up. Basically bigger than Nike. The kid, he was like, I think 19 at the time. Now he's like 24.
He's the one that owns Gymshark.
Youngest, yeah.
Wow.
First billionaire youngster, like the youngest billionaire ever, bro. It's crazy. It's inspiring. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
So when you think about it, I learned all that. And then I started investing in myself more and more and more. And then finally, March of 2021, I made my first 6 figures. I made $130,000 by myself, dude, in a single month. So literally, I made as much as I would make my entire year's salary, bro. And then I went to my mom. Love my mom, my best friend. And I was like, Mom, you think I should quit policing? She's like, first off, what are you doing, selling drugs? And then number two, she's like, benefits, mijo. She's like, no, like, I'm like, now that I think, I laugh because I'm like, bro, like, right now I pay like $900 for full benefits. I got good benefits. I was like, just made $130,000. Why would I take my mom's like advice? Comfort. And that's why I tell you guys, don't take advice from people that haven't done it. That's it. You want to go with somebody that has done it already. So I'm asking my mom to go ahead and start off a multi-million-dollar venture, but she's never done it.
Yeah.
She's taught me how to work hard, the fundamentals that got me there, but now I need to reach out to the next level. And like I always say, Marlon, with every new level, there's a new devil. So you always have to keep leveling up your circle, who you're around, and your mentorship, where you're getting your information, bro. Yeah. Because what's working, what got you to 1 million, ain't gonna work to get you to 10 million, and 10 million to 100 million, right? Yeah. So when I did that, I went to the department, talked to a good friend. My friend was just like, yo, get out of here, bro. You're an idiot. I put my 2 weeks, listen to him, put my 2 weeks. I went all in, bro. I went all in. And let me tell you what I mean. So at that time, I owned a pretty nice house in one of the best neighborhoods in the Bay Area called Walnut Creek. Okay, it's about 20 minutes away from Oakland. I had just bought my dream car at the time. I thought I was on top of the world. When I put in my 2 weeks, it was the scariest moment in my life. Why? Because I just gave up a $250,000 job. Okay, number one, security, job security, right? Why? Most people won't quit. Number two, I was like, I'm just gonna sell my house. My mindset behind that was just like, if I'm gonna level up the man and the leader and the entrepreneur that I am, I need to be around a new environment. So I was just like, you know what? It's between Scottsdale and San Diego. And I was like, I like the beach. I want to live in a penthouse. I got the money to do it. I'm just going to do it. Boom, did it. Put the house for sale, sold it to some lawyer. And then literally within the end of that month, dude, moved to San Diego, moved to a 44th floor penthouse in downtown San Diego, ocean view, bro. Like, I almost felt amazing. Like, it felt like a movie, bro. So from there, I built up a 3-man startup the first year. The first year, ATM Together did about 1.8 million. The second year, it grew. We started building like about a 15-man team. It grew to about 18 million. And third year, it was like close to 30 million. So I think it was like 28.5. So then that same year, bro, mind you guys, I'm always going to say this. Your network is your net worth. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Mm-hmm. I'm such a big believer in this. But the same person that I was doing the ATMs with, like, he had the network. Like, that was my processor. He also provided me with the máquinas, with the machines.
Yes.
Right? So every time I would get a client, he would ship him out of Colorado. His name is Mike Sandon. Really good dude. Shout out to Mike. So he became a millionaire off of that company. And we're still good at friends. He was at the event yesterday, and he tells me, like, bro, I'm so proud of you, bro. Like, this is what you wanted the entire time. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude. So it was like, I reflected on the time that we met. Mm-hmm. But when I went ahead and he connected me with my new mentor. And my new mentor, he was in the industry for 20 years in merchant services, which is credit card processing, guys. Okay, traditional credit card processing. You see the terminals at gas stations. That's what it is. And then I was like, this guy wants to meet you. His name's Rob. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, I'm good, right? Like, I'm focused on what I'm doing.
Right.
We're ramping up.
ATM's where it's at.
It's where it's at, bro. It's what the market wants. You know, a lot of people are into it.
I go to 7-Eleven, I paid like $4 service fee. But the latest one, it doesn't charge me. I don't know why, but
yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No, it's all good. And that's probably something that, you know.
But I'm fascinated with the mobile, the
terminals.
The terminals.
Yeah, so with the terminals, man, basically, I got a new mentor towards the end of 2022. Okay. He sat me down and he was like, look, check this out. This is what I have for you. I was like, I love what you did with ATMs because you took a traditional idea and you mixed it with digital marketing. And he's just like, we don't know how to do that. He's like, most companies don't know how to do that. And I was just like, yeah, so what do you want me to do? Like, what's the idea? He's like, I don't know, figure it out. So I was like, okay. So I was like, I did my market research and I saw in merchant services that a lot of business owners, mom and pop shops specifically, they're basically getting taken advantage of by the banks and large credit card companies. How are they doing it? Because they're charging them traditional credit card processing. So these mom and pop shops, they're going ahead and they're actually paying anywhere between like 2.8% up to 4%. And depending on the volume that they're bringing in, okay, they're paying thousands of dollars a month to these banks. The banks, they don't got no money. It's other people's money. Yeah. So imagine in LA, how many businesses are in LA, dude? Yeah. There's hundreds of millions of businesses all over the United States, guys. Yes. So everybody needs credit card processing, right? About 75% of businesses in the United States right now uses the machines, right? Yeah. So when it comes down to it, it's a big, big blue ocean. So here was the approach that I took. And just like in law enforcement that you learn as a case agent, path of least resistance, right? You always want to take the safest route. So in business, it's the same thing. It got to be calculated. You can't throw spaghetti at the wall. So with me, I'm like, all right, if I'm going to go into this market, it got to be worth my squeeze. Yes. I already built a multi-million-dollar business. I want to build another one. So I went ahead and I looked at a very simplified business concept that's been in the industry for the past possibly like 6-7 years now. Okay. And it's called the Cash Discount Program. Mm-hmm. And what it is, okay, just to simplify it for everybody listening right now, we basically, instead of charging you as the business owner, we charge your clients. That's it. That's as simplified as I could tell you guys, okay, without getting confused on this part. Right. So we charge your clients. You no longer pay the fees. Your client does. But here's the caveat to this. You have to let them know that they're going to pay the fee. That is the legal way to do it in merchant services. Mm-hmm. This is how you don't get hit by getting blacklisted with Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Got it. Most people, there's a lot of business owners now that they'll actually add the surcharge fee without telling the client. That's actually illegal sometimes, depending on what state you're at. Okay. So this concept, I was like, this is very beginner friendly. In the online world, now with everything going, if you guys didn't know, Latinos, for example, they actually get their financial information, meaning like if they're trying to look to invest into anything, they actually go to TikTok.
Yeah.
70% of the Latin community, which is crazy when you think about it, right?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
But I wasn't well versed in social media, man. So I started with Facebook.
Yeah.
I started with Facebook. I grew a Facebook group for the ATM business to 100,000 members. And I built this community, engaging, helping beginners. And that was my strategy behind it. I was just like, dude, if you provide value to your people, you're going to have an abundance of wealth because people are going to want to do business with you.
Yeah.
So I took that exact same blueprint that I did ATM together, and I just went ahead and duplicated the company into merchant services. I went ahead, got my own locations. At that time, I was in San Diego, got about 80 locations. I had call centers, I had the resources, I had the infrastructure, so I was able to scale pretty fast. From there, I did a proof of concept. Whenever you start a business, okay, and you're the face of the company, you always want to show that you as the founder, you as the owner, you're doing the work. You are actually in the game, in the trenches, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. I'm what you consider in marketing an attractive character, okay? I'm not attractive, guys. I'm all right. But that's what you call the lingo in marketing, okay? You are the face of the company. You're the attractive character. So when it comes down to it, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go in here, and I did what you call a beta launch. Think of a beta launch like if you guys are familiar with Call of Duty. Yeah. Everybody is. Yeah. You remember when you play Call of Duty, and they would always do a beta launch. They would do like, hey, test it out for a few minutes.
Pilot.
Yeah, the pilot, basically, right? Pilot. So you play the game. There'll be like kinks. You'd be like, oh, there's something wrong.
Yeah, got to fine-tune it.
Got to fine-tune it. Got to do all this, right? So a beta launch, whenever I do a company, is I usually get 10 beta clients. So 10 clients that want to work based on the idea concept. Okay. I tell them, hey, it's not proven yet. We're testing it out. You guys are the test group. But for you wanting to do the concept with me, I'm going to give you 50% off. Now, I was already thinking based on the market that I was doing last time. You know, I had services with the first company where I was charging anywhere between the initial pricing was $6,500 all the way up to $90,000 for my services. Okay, so it depends on what you needed and all that jazz. With this company, I already thought, okay, dude, I'm not charging less than $25K. Why? Because the concept that I initially brought up to Cashswipe, what is known as Cashswipe, formerly known as Merchant Automation, was that we were going to get the locations. You don't have to go ahead and actually go out and find the locations for you. So that takes a lot of manpower. A lot of people got to understand, why you charge so much? Dude, I got 90 employees in the company. You think they're going to work for free? Like, come on, man. Yeah. I ain't a one-man team. Trust me. I got a ton of overhead. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to it, I got to charge accordingly. So I already had 100 people on this wait list, bro. Why? The power of personal branding. The power of personal branding, because the first company was such a success, but the reason why people were buying is because of my story. Yeah. They were like, dude, you're that cop. And then like I would always get stopped everywhere I would go, you know, with my lady, and they'd be like, hey, bro, you're that cop that does ATMs. And like that's what I was known as, the ATM guy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. One of my colleagues said, hey, you're going to be interviewing that ATM cop. Yeah. That's what he said. Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
I mean, it's true, bro. It is what it is. Awesome. I own it, bro. So I went ahead, did the concept, did $1 million launch, bro. I did $1 million launch. It was amazing. Awesome. I went back to startup mode. I locked myself in my office, ate Chipotle for 3 weeks, and just was on the phones. I created the infrastructure again, you know, renew like my skills of doing a startup because I'm a visionary guy. And collected $1 million, started building the company up again, started hiring employees and all that jazz. That's awesome. And then I delegated it, and then that's how Cashswipe started. Now we're close to about 20 million in revenue.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
God, that's a great story. We'll talk about that more off camera. Hey, worst incident in your career?
Oh man, I got many, but I'm gonna give you one of the ones that actually hit me hard because it actually happened to one of my friends. So when I was in the task force, we were working this narco out of Southern California, actually, and he had traveled all the way up to Alameda County, where I was part of the narcotics task force. And this was around 2017, 2018. So I was working the informant. The informant had information that this guy, he was a border brother, and he had came up to Alameda County because he was transporting kilos, like we're talking about millions of dollars of coke. And he also had inside information that he also had heroin, black tar heroin, and he also had fentanyl. So then this was a big thing. We did a collab with the feds at that time. I think it was HSI, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, we want this guy. Like, let's hit him hard." So we ended up raiding his house based on, reliable information from the informant. And we ended up getting like close to $1 million in cash, I believe. And then all the paraphernalia. But I was like, where's the dope? Like, so obviously what ends up happening, bail goes down. The dude bails out within an hour. And we're like, shit. Luckily, we were still on him. And I can't say how we were still on him, but we were still on him, right? So we found out right away within an hour. As soon as he's out, he's like, yo, I got the stuff. They didn't get the dope. So then he ends up posting up at a Motel 6. So then I get the info. I begged my sergeant. I was like, please, can we go hit him tonight? So then he's like, okay, let's do it. So then I rally up the troops. We all go undercover, and we're stationed at the Motel 6. We start taking off buyers, like customers going in the room. Like there was a couple guys with backpacks walking funny with like trench coats, but they had cash in the backpack, bro. So they were going in there with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they were like just giving the cash, and they were getting like heroin, coke, all that stuff.
Wow.
So then my informant was just like, yo, like they're moving right now. So we're getting a CHP. We had a CHP with a K9. They were doing the stops on the customers. We were doing good recoveries. I was able to do a warrant by a judge, approved it and everything on the spot. We started gearing up. I briefed up, and I was just like, all right, you guys ready? I remember I was the second person going on the stack through the door. My boy was the first one. Now, my friend who was the first one, he was highly trained SWAT officer. He was the best. And when we went in, we breached the door, and I remember the crook laying down on the bed. And Motel 6 bed, rooms, they're not that big, dude. They're very small. So he was laying down. The guy was sniffing on fentanyl and heroin. He was a drug addict as well. So as he was doing his thing, like he was literally like getting high, he woke up out of shock that we were hitting the room. And it was like slow-mo, bro. So my dude, clear, he goes straight into the room. I get the right-hand side. I get him in cuffs. Most of the powder goes on my boy, who goes straight, okay? Okay, everybody's like, yeah. Everybody started getting lightheaded. I remember I had the worst headache of my life during that time, man. And then all of a sudden, we got the crook. Everybody's like high-fiving each other. And then my boy was just like, hey, Paul, like, I don't feel good. And I was just like, he started sweating profusely, bro. It was almost like Resident Evil. Like when they start transforming and shit, like his mouth started getting blue, his hands blue, and then the dude just collapsed. And I was like, oh shit. And then everybody's like, oh my God, like what happened, right? And I'm like, get the Narcan. I had just went to Quantico, bro, because I got trained up on Narcan training, and then I got trained up on, they show you how to deassemble meth labs, which was pretty cool. They put me in the hazmat suit. And I had just learned how to do all those techniques. And I was like, get the Narcan. And obviously nobody had it because it was brand new, bro. Yeah. It was 2017, 2018. So I was like, get a few of them. And I'm like yelling at everybody. And then even the sergeant fainted, bro. And I was like, come on, bro, you're the sergeant, get up. And then, like they're shot. And I'm sorry. I know it was critical incident, but it was funny. So then he got my boy. He's like dead right there, blue. He's like, and we hit him with Narcan. And if you guys don't know, I mean, obviously, majority of cops, you guys know what Narcan is. But the people that are not cops, Narcan is basically an opiate, solution to help you.
To their nasal spray.
It's like a nasal spray.
Yes.
Nasal spray that revives you if you have an opiate, overdose. Yeah. So then, after the third pump, man, he comes back alive. And he's like, oh, and then everybody's, oh, get the ambulance. So they get the ambulance. They put me as like acting sergeant, and I'm just like, bro, I'm not even in your guys' agency. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, yeah, bro, but you're trained on this. So I was just like, all right. So I do my thing, and I remember that night was messed up, bro. That was the second time the police chief calls me. She's like, Paul, are you okay? And I'm like, what do you think? Like, it's the middle of the night. I just missed dinner with my ex. She cussed me out because she thought I was cheating on her. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, like, what the hell? Like, I just almost died, right?
Wow.
And during that time, man, that was before the DUI.
Yes.
That was like a year before the DUI. And then the following month, I won Detective of the Year. Well, a crazy story, bro. People are like, you got too many stories, bro. No, I got papers. All right. I got the awards. So
we're about to wrap it up. Look, any advice, Paul, that you have for anyone that's coming on the job to become a police officer? What kind of advice you have for them, bro?
Yeah, man. I mean, do it for the right reasons, guys. At the end of the day, like, good people, good men and women, they have gone ahead and given up their livelihood for this profession. So, you know, you're set to a higher standard, right? You're set to a higher standard. So do your best to go ahead and, I know it sounds cliche, be the best that you could be, but also always stay neutral. Because now in 2025, people want you to mess up. I'm just keeping it real. People want the police to slip up. It does not matter. It'll be that one day you're like, yo, I'm about to go home and eat. And then you run through the red light because you're trying to get home. And guess what? You get into an accident. They replay it. IA's on your ass. Yeah. It is what it is, bro. You can't blame IA. They're just doing their job.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, for everybody right now that, like, you know, they think IA is bad. No, it's liability. In business, your CFO, your COO, your CEO, you know, if you guys don't know what that is, look it up, Google it, you know, handle it. They cover liability. Yeah. They cover liability because you could get sued. Same thing with departments. You could get sued. Yeah. And now they could go after you as officers. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the department can't cover you sometimes. And the last thing you need is to get sued, get your livelihood taken away. Yeah. Your house, your car, everything that you own. Yeah. So do the job right. Now, do it for the right reasons. And also, I encourage you guys, if you're an aspiring cop and you don't think you want to be in this profession for long, do it smart. Yeah. Do good work as hard as possible, save up, and then come talk to me.
Yeah, there you go. I am not only honored, bro. Thank you so much for showing up. I can't even, words can't describe your journey. I honestly believe that as driven as you were before you came on the job, right? And you were balls to the wall. It was just you getting through the academy, being the best that you can be. But I really feel, in listening to you, right, to your journey, is I think law enforcement really kind of changed you for that brotherhood.
100% it did.
To give back and to know that your success comes a lot from your journey. And I applaud you for that, man. I really do.
No, I appreciate it. I give everything to law enforcement. Law enforcement, like, you know, build me up to be a leader. Law enforcement build me up to be hard, to literally delegate, to go ahead and think like I'm supposed to in business. A lot of people, they're like, dude, how did you learn all this? I was like, law enforcement. Yeah. Law enforcement taught me everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where can we get a hold of you before we leave?
Yeah, Instagram, Paul Alex. I also got a podcast. You're going to be on it soon.
That's right. I got to go to Miami, bro.
Yeah, I'm about to have a good time, bro. So the Level Up Podcast with Paul Alex, guys. We're currently #1 in business right now. So 5 minutes of motivation. I actually did it for first responders, but now everybody around the world is listening to it. So it's self-help, dude. 2 minutes, 3 minutes of motivation every single day. Help you get through your day and perform.
You're a good dude, man. We're going to wrap it up. Look, please, like always, be safe out there, and don't forget to go Code 6. Thank you.